So I would say to the chiropractor who mistakenly thinks that they're a chiropractor and they forget that they're actually a sales and marketing business, then your role, if you really want to help people be better off, is let people be aware that you exist and let them get the full solution that's available to them instead of a partial solution. Now, if you can't help someone be better off, you have no place selling. I agree with you. You shouldn't be trying to sell anybody on something that won't help them be better off.
Welcome to the Marketing Your Practice podcast, where we guide natural health and wellness experts through the pitfalls of marketing. Each episode, you'll learn simple, effective, easily actionable, and heart-centered marketing strategies. And here's your host, Angus Pike.
A huge welcome to the Marketing Your Practice podcast. You're here with Angus Pike from Audio Media, and I've got an opportunity right now to share with you my coach, James Schramko. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Angus.
This is, I said to you when we started off, because I'm watching your content each and every week, diving in there. And then when I get in here, I assume that you should know as much about me in this content as I do about you. So if I get a bit familiar at any stage, forgive me with regards to that also.
You know, it's like a good marketer should know a lot about their audience anyway. Like they really have to intricately know their customer to be a good communicator and to solve their problems well. I imagine in your field of work, you have to do some diagnostic stuff to understand how you're going to solve a patient's problem. So I do actually meet a lot of my customers and I converse with them so often that I'm running these multiple sort of databases in my head of every customer. I think it's too simplistic to have one customer avatar, and we should take the effort to get to know our customers better than we do.
Well, I first came across your content maybe a couple of years ago. I then read your book, and you know, we were wanting some help at that time to really dive into our membership portal, which we have through Community Influencer, of which, you know, you've been stunningly helpful for us as well. Before we dive into this whole concept of marketing and how we can have better community outreach, you know, for those of our listeners that might not be as aware of your background, can you just take us through a bit of a journey of what led you to where you are now?
Sure. I went through a series of jobs and found myself in sales and worked my way through sales in the automotive industry. Most of my career was spent with Mercedes-Benz, and went well with sales and got promoted to sales manager, and I went well with that and ended up running the dealership as a general manager. And then I decided I wanted my own business, but I wasn't sure what, because I didn't finish university for any particular skill. So I'm not a specialist as such. And I figured the internet was going to be important. And I started teaching myself how to build a website. And then I had some success after a lot of difficult starting phase, finding a product that I could actually sell as an affiliate so I could apply my sales knowledge on the internet. And then it was a natural evolution of starting to create my own courses and information. And I was able to quit my job along the way about 11 years ago. And from then I started helping other business owners who wanted to master the internet, and especially if they were wanting to strengthen up sales or conversions or learn how to run a team. A lot of stuff I'd learned at Mercedes-Benz that lots of online businesses don't know. And then, of course, there's lots of real-world physical premises businesses that are getting squeezed out by online businesses. So a lot of those businesses need to understand how the online marketing works. So I ended up serving a lot of the customers who serve those end users. So I've basically created a hub of an environment of those agencies and service operators who serve other customers. And it's a great network. We've created a little community, and it's been going for about 10 years now.
It's a beautiful community and a really valuable one too. And, you know, I've been a student of marketing, very consistently for the last decade, and it never ceases to amaze me, my other mentors who had you as their mentor along the way. Talk about kind of the man behind the man and the woman, so to speak, there too. You've had a tremendous kind of reach out. This is something you've been doing for a long time. It's not a kind of, new kid on the block, so to speak.
Yeah, it's like when I came into online marketing at the end of 2005, I was wondering if I was too late because it had been around for a decade already. And most of the information that you could find was really American based because they were just well and truly down the path of .coms and e-commerce compared to the Australian market. But now I would say everyone's caught up. Like, we all use phones and tablets. We all know what a tweet is, and we're all on Facebook. So that's now the playing field. And I think, just some time in over that 14-year period, I've tried a few things. I've seen a lot of information, and I've been lucky enough to take from my old job the ability to communicate and to network. And I physically got myself on the aeroplane and traveled across to other markets and developed out my own network. So I've traveled to the UK and I've traveled to Asia and I've traveled to the USA every single year for the last decade and built a solid network. And there's no substitute for getting away from the computer and getting into a room with real life humans when it comes to advancing your business. And that's where I've connected and met the people who I coach. And a lot of the people I coach have got tens of thousands and even hundreds of thousands of students, so that they've got a lot of reach. And I'm lucky enough to see what's working for them and then to be able to quickly cross-pollinate those ideas with other customers of mine. So it feeds itself.
I'm excited to be picking into a little bit of that brain today. So, lots of our listeners, they're small business owners, and they have lots of face-to-face contact with people, and they probably need to spend a little bit more time at the computer. And we have an area of expertise, many of us as chiropractors, it's 5 years of study and some more there. But all that study is spent on, expertise with regards to helping our patients. And never did anybody tell me along the way that along with helping the patients is this thing that needs to happen in core business. And I think somehow, and this is a similar kind of story for many of our listeners and people that we coach too, even worse than that, we were somehow subliminally got told this message that marketing is really for those practitioners who just can't help people. If you're really good at what you do and you get great results, then internal referrals will be all that you need. And sadly, I have too many case studies of fabulous practitioners who failed in practice not because they weren't great with their hands or their skills there too, is that they just couldn't run a business. So I'm hoping that today might be, marketing 101 for those people that are wanting to step into it. Where do we start? How do we dive into this world? Where's my time best spent if I'm wanting to start to have some sales and marketing of my practice?
Well, I'd be having a look at profit levers and making sure you understand what they are and which ones are more important than others. And there's 5 of them that are important. So, if we're talking 101 fundamentals, we shouldn't skip that step because I don't think every business actually knows what they are.
Let's go.
Well, the first one is basically leads. It's how many people you're actually prospecting to. Before that, you could even say there's suspects. Like there's people out there. Not everyone is your customer, but some of them should be. So the leads is the number of people that you're actually being able to have a communication with. I've seen those chiropractor leaflets dropped in letterboxes, it's disguised as news from some of the more savvy marketers, or the ad in the paper that sort of looks like a news article, and then you can contact. That's how you generate leads. So that's the first aspect. The next part is the conversions. It's how many of those people can you move into being a paying customer. So there's things that you can do around the conversion side of it. Once you've got the customer, then you have a look at other things like how much are they actually spending with you? Like what's the amount of the purchase? And then beyond that, it's what's the frequency of purchase? How many times do they spend with you in a year or ever? It's good to know the lifetime value of a customer, like to work out how much they'll spend with you over time in total. What is that customer actually worth to you? And then the final part is your margin. It's what are the costs of your business? So you can have a look at, usually in a business like what you're describing, you're going to have costs such as office, and staff. And then there might be other things like, pesky things like insurance and advertising and electricity and rent and water coolers, and the list will go on and on and on. Right? The main goal really of the business is to get and keep a customer. That's a Peter Drucker saying. The way you do it is through marketing and innovation. So some of the ideas that we're learning today will be innovations. And if you don't know any of the stuff I've already talked about, then that's fantastic. You now have a world to dig into and improve. But I will tell you the most important place to focus. If I could only pick two, it would be frequency. I'd want to make sure a one-time customer becomes a multiple customer. So I'd be looking at ways you could encourage that customer to become part of a subscription program, or to market to existing customers to have them come back and buy again. It's going to be much more cost effective than to find new customers. And the other part that I'd focus on is the conversions. That is the part where you turn a lead into a customer. And that can really be handled well in the marketing sense by having better sales communication, using case studies of existing customers who are very happy, putting those proof elements on your website or in your marketing materials, targeting a specific type of customer. So you might target sports people, or you might target new parents, or like a particular client profile that makes it easier for them to recognize that you're that person who deals with that specialty. You can also make sure whoever's in the office, if it's not just you, is trained on good sales technique by giving them a sales script that you would like used every single time. And you can also make sure that first appointment, maybe it's a free consult, leads to a great sales presentation that will cause someone to enroll in a program. And my experience with chiropractors is some of them are quite good at that. It's like you go in once, you're going to be there for the rest of your life. It's the way they take that sale.
Well, many, and I guess too, many of us as chiropractors see chiropractic as one of those things that's just part of a healthy lifestyle. So as it opposed to it being a therapy to fix something, this is something that we do to keep well, a bit like eating healthy food each week and walking. And I know particularly it's been interesting to see the changes in your health of recent there too, where that's become a real value for you.
Massive.
I'm sure you get this come from time to time, because as soon as we start to talk with many practitioners about there being sales and marketing, there's a jump that they need to make, because it keeps on coming back to this idea, or really my focus should be on just helping James get out of his digestive problems. And why does that need to have any sales with regards to that, or marketing with regards to that? Or, I'm just going to find out why James is having his achy joints or his headaches or whatnot. And then there's almost an ethical barrier that comes up for many people that says, sales is that kind of thing for the car dealer down the road there, or for somebody else. It has no place inside the health practice. What's your thoughts? Because I'm sure you have other industries saying that same thing to you.
Well, if you want to help James, you have to make sure James knows you exist, and that James believes you can solve his problems. And you'd have to think, would James be better off coming once, or would he be better off coming several times? So if that's the case, then you need to create the environment that makes it easy for your customer to know that this is a good move. So I would just say redefine selling as helping people be better off. It's as simple as that. Now, if you can't help someone be better off, you have no place selling. I agree with you. You shouldn't be trying to sell anybody on something that won't help them be better off. So when it comes down to ethics, that's just a personal choice. If you knowingly sell something that's not good for people, then that's a bad person ethically. It's nothing to do with sales. Sales is an unemotional process. It's simply the description of that process from changing from the current situation to a better alternative situation. So I would say to the chiropractor who mistakenly thinks that they're a chiropractor and they forget that they're actually a sales and marketing business, then your role, if you really want to help people be better off, is let people be aware that you exist, and let them get the full solution that's available to them instead of a partial solution.
Yeah, I love that distinction. I think it was, I'm trying to think, I first kind of heard this definition over from the gang at Strategic Coach, where they talked about kind of sales and marketing getting people, emotionally engaged in a future result that's good for them. And I think that's what you kind of, in essence, said there too.
Well, they might have lifted it from Neil Rackham, who wrote Spin Selling. And, I believe he's probably one of the true researcher pioneers in the sales field, like one of the first fully data-backed sales educational pieces in the 80s. And he has that definition of a sale, that it's a process of improvement, more or less.
Yeah. James, tell me that name again. Neil
Rackham, Spin Selling.
Yeah, terrific. So once we kind of, because I can see that if we buy into that concept, because I'm of the thought that one adjustment a year is better than none, and 2 is better than 1, and 3 is better than 2. So and that's my experience with 20 years of practice, is that health is one of those things that's more about it, as I mentioned before, that ongoing journey rather than it being an event from there. So because you introduced a concept before that is foreign to many of us, the concept of having conversations with people on their journey before they even become a customer as well, which I think comes a little bit into that kind of profit lever 1, and then into some of the other ones, the conversion as well. How would that happen? How do I have my practice so I've got people I'm looking after inside of here as well, but then I've got all these other people that I'm warming up along the way before they actually become customers, clients, patients?
Publish content, like publish a video every day, share something insightful or useful every day on your phone and put it out to social media, which I've been doing and works really, really well. It's why people feel like they know me, because I publish. So one of the concepts that I like around health is that you either spend your money on the health along the way, or then you spend it with the doctor at the end. Like you're going to spend it either way. And I think you have a better life if you're healthy during it. So I'd be taking those concepts and putting them into content and letting the market know about this, so then they can start to be, as Cialdini would say, persuaded. You can build, warm people up to first they have to know they even need it. And once they become aware they need it, then they might move from the awareness phase into the phase where they actually become a buyer. Next time they get a sore back, or they can't turn their neck or whatever, then they might, oh, yeah, that's right, maybe I should try going to see a chiropractor. Go and find the influences. Where do customers come from before they arrive at the practice? Are they visiting a sports physio? Are they seeing a certain general practice doctor who's a real believer in chiropractic? Like, find your feeding source and make sure you go and warm those up with good content too. Give them things they can give their customers.
Right. So can we talk about types of content, how long the content should be, dealing with the technical overwhelm that might come along with that as well? So I'm going to say, because for many people, the thought of, publishing a video every day, people just, their minor coronaries happening with people in their cars, or as they're walking the dog at the moment there too. But this can be done in a way that's really simple. So could you talk through a strategy that might have somebody producing a piece of content every day without overwhelm?
Yeah, just put up on a whiteboard, put a line down the middle, and you can do this out in the back room or the staff room or whatever. On the left-hand column is the question, and the right-hand column is the answer. So when someone asks a question, when they come in for a consult and they ask a question, or when you go to an information night or a trade show or a dinner party or a barbecue, and someone asks you a question about what you do, write it down. And then beside it, on the right-hand column, write the answer. There's your video. The next thing is you pick up your phone and put it on selfie mode and hold it like that, and then you record it. Introduce yourself, state the question, answer it, and then have a call to action, which is simply telling people what to do next. Which could be, if you're interested in this, get in touch with us. And then you just upload it to your favorite Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever platform your audience is at.
And would your thoughts be that it's okay to start with one platform first, and then while I'm asking questions too, How long should that video be? And are there other call to actions as well? There's 3 questions all in one. Sorry about that.
So the video could be 30 seconds or 2 minutes long. It doesn't have to be long. Short's good. My videos are typically 2 minutes. One platform, sure, just load it up. No one's going to see it for the first few videos anyway. Over time, you could start involving it. If you happen to have an office assistant, someone in the office there helping out, if they're socially savvy or computer savvy, you'll find it's pretty easy for them to upload to multiple places. My team do this for me every single day. They load it to 6 places, but that's advanced. We didn't do that in the beginning. I put it to 1 and then 3 and then 5. And 6 is sort of gold star. And in terms of calls to action, other calls to action, these days I'd be looking at, once you've got a few videos, ask people to subscribe. Now, wherever you see this video, be sure to subscribe and you'll receive more tips like this. Another call to action would be a comment. What is the, what remedies have you tried for your sore neck or whatever? Post a comment below and you can engage people. Another one would be, if you've got questions, then send us a message. I'd love to help you out and start engaging with that customer. So basically try and ask people to do an activity that would help you out, which of course is designed to eventually help them out too.
Yeah, beautiful. And I love, we teach a lot of video from Adio Media, and I love live video, and I love this simple self. In fact, I think now these sorts of videos in many cases build a level of authenticity that doesn't come from something that's incredibly highly produced, because we don't, sometimes it's too difficult to see the real you. It's okay sometimes to have a stumble of a word in there, and the speed of implementation is so quick for you to be able to do that. And as you said before, we often talk about the frequently asked questions, and I would just piggyback on top of that and said, look, for this next week, if you have a pen and paper in your adjusting room, tell your front desk staff the same thing. Every question that gets asked, just write it down. You'll probably come up with a month or more content there. And then just ask your patients to just say to them too, hey, listen, we're about to start shooting some regular videos. What are the questions that you have that you'd like us to answer? And that's it. The content.
We'll just hold an information night. I had a 1 hour call yesterday and I wrote down 38 questions and answers. So at 1 a day and 20 videos a month, if you're calling work days, there's 2 months worth of content that I gleaned in 1 hour from my customers. So this is not difficult.
Yeah.
And if you can't do that, just go to Facebook. Just go to any group where people who you help hang out and find out their questions relating to your field. And you don't even have to, you can just lurk, it's called, just watching. I went to someone else's group and wrote down all the questions they were being asked. And this group owner doesn't really know how to answer them, but I do. So I'll make videos about them.
Yeah, great strategy. And then you said before, because in the early stages, not many people are going to watch our videos. How long do I need to keep this process up before I should start seeing some results?
I would be prepared to do it for a while before you see it. Same when I started podcasting. I didn't really get much traction initially. It's a long-term strategy. However, the longer the better, really, because think of it like planting seeds and growing an orchard. It will take a while and you'll have to keep the bugs off it, and you keep watering it and growing it. You know, great, I planted the seeds. When can I eat my apple? It doesn't work like that. Once you do get the harvest, you can go and pick the fruit from the tree anytime you want. You can even sell it to the neighboring farms. Like, you'll have so much abundance and it'll last for a long time. So lucky I started podcasting 10 years ago, because it's a core publishing mechanism that's worked really well for my business. And I've got so much momentum now. Anytime I hit, publish on a new episode, we will get 2,000 people listen to that episode in the first day. And so any message I want to get out there, I just grab a microphone like this, talk into it, and then reach my audience. But it's because I've got that orchard over time. So I would say months, certainly 1 year. I started redoing daily videos 1 year ago. I've done 300 videos. They're 1 to 2 minutes long. So that is 600 minutes, let's call it 10 hours. And the first few months, I think I made $1,000 or $2,000, nothing spectacular. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. I'll just keep going with it. I logged in today. After 1 year, I started 1 year and about 3 or 4 weeks ago. There's $205,000 attributed to those particular videos for my 10 hours worth of work. And that will snowball because I've dialed in the frequency. These customers will keep buying for the next year and a half, 2 years as a minimum. So it's probably $500,000 just from those short videos. It all relies on consistent repetition. Like eventually everyone around you is going to keep seeing the videos and they'll know all about what you do, and it's just a matter of time until something happens. It's almost impossible to keep publishing the content and not get a result.
And when you're making those videos too, are you making them every day? Do you kind of block record a bunch of them?
I did 4 this morning when someone didn't show up for a call, and I've got another 30 something there to do. So I'll take them out when I go for a drive with my wife later. I'll make a couple at the beach. I might go up to the rooftop, make a few more. I only make them when I feel like it. The main thing is I just have to remember to shave and maybe change my t-shirt occasionally. That's about it. But I'm not super fussy about it. You'll see plenty of videos where maybe I didn't shave or the lighting's not perfect. I'm a poster boy for not being perfect. You know, I don't even use a lav mic anymore. I just use the phone straight up. I do put it on a bracket and I use a LED light if I remember. Sometimes I forget to turn it on, but this is all I use. Is this bracket, that light, tripod. When I started doing videos like 8-9 years ago, I had DSLR cameras and boom mics and backdrops and the whole works. And now I don't have any of that. It's just like the least amount of equipment. If you can walk into an Apple store, you can make videos.
Yes, but speed of implementation and lowering the barriers, I find too. The cameras on our phones now are extraordinary. You know, and the sound, provided you're not outside in the wind and you're in a relatively quiet area, the need even for external mics is coming down and down. But even if you did get one, they're certainly not expensive.
I've got the one in the drawer, but that's all the way down there.
Yeah. So we've talked about on that kind of profit lever. I want to kind of jump into this next one, if it's okay, where we talk about conversion as well, and doing the best job. And you talked about kind of, you know, making sure that we're choosing the right people as well. What other factors play a real role in turning that person from a lead into an actual customer?
Well, making the pathway easy. So it's easy for them to see how to proceed. Use lots of proof, evidence, like support your claims. Communicate in a way that is easy for people to understand. So some people do fancy English, like they were English graduates. That's not how people communicate. So conversational style actually sells really well. Being able to present your solutions in a logical, simple way is nice as well.
That can be one of the challenges that we have, because we've just had 5 years diving through anatomy and physiology books, you know, and learning about epicondyles and spinothalamic tracts and all those kind of things there too. And sometimes I want to communicate that way to you because I want to impress you about how much that I have learned. And then my experience is that actually has the opposite effect many times, because it overwhelms. The communication is not great. And that idea of really dumbing it down there too, it's like, oh man, hang on, I'm a doctor and I've just spent all this time studying, let me use my big words. But that's something that you would really find too, is just keeping it simple.
Yeah, trying to eliminate jargon. For most customers aren't going to understand that stuff, and they might not want to. Be like the mechanic. You know, does the customer who buys a Mercedes-Benz need to know that the spark plugs have sodium, you know, in them, or that the Gaibo coupling joins the drive shaft to the rear universal? Or do they just want a really nice car that they feel good about? So it might be worth asking the prospect if they're interested in that. Sometimes you can have two paths. You have the path of just want the problem solved, or they want to know all about every detail. And you'll know there'll be the occasional spreadsheet customer you have who wants a lot of information. And I had a guy repairing my air conditioning the other day, and he mistakenly gave out his phone number to one of his customers, who's a rather elderly gentleman. Mm-hmm. And this guy calls him pretty much every day, wanting to know in great detail every specification of every component of this guy's repair. Where it's become an unsustainable situation for my poor repair technician, because he opened up a can of worms that he shouldn't have. So yes, maybe some customers are interested and maybe some aren't. So it's about identifying which way do you need to help someone move forward in a way that makes it easy for them.
Yeah, I like that concept, and the simplicity of one way you could find out is ask them, do you want more detail than this? You often try to identify those people that are drivers and analyticals and those kind of things there too, but maybe rather than having to guess that, you could actually just ask them the question, which seems to be a pretty nice and effective way of actually doing that too. So we're making sure, what kind of barriers do you see? So there's the language barrier that often gets in the way of people converting from that lead into a customer. What other barriers do you see often in the way?
Well, I think people trying typical tactics that they might have been trained on or read about that people just resist. We don't like being sold, which is funny. Like, most people have a negative perception around it. We can recognize when we're being painted into a corner by a salesperson and it's icky and we want out. So it's about not being too pushy and manipulative and predictable. But at the same time, the biggest problem salespeople have is they never actually ask for the order. It's like research would show like 50% of salespeople never ask for the order. So I don't know if you've ever been into a store where you wander around and they usually say, can I help you? And you say, no, I'm just looking. And then they go away. That's it. And then when you want to buy something, you can't find anyone. So it's, you've got to be there to facilitate that order. Help people, be prescriptive, educate people, and prescribe the right solution for them in a way that makes sense for them.
James, do you have some thoughts about what that might look like, asking for the order? If I was a naturopath dealing with you or some kind of practitioner, what might that look like?
Oh, it's you can use words like, so based on what you've told me and what we have here, here's what I would recommend for you if you would like to go ahead with this.
Right. And just as simple as that.
Yeah.
Are you ready? Yeah. Would you like to go ahead?
Yeah. And where people can, go a bit too far sometimes, they might say, well, will that be cash or credit card, or they start getting into the slippery sales tactics that they think make more sales, but I think will repel customers.
Yeah. I like about, what I'm hearing, if we go, to kind of wind things up, we talked about at the beginning the importance of sales and marketing and how really that was what's going to help our patients get the result they want. And then we come into here and we say, look, sales and marketing doesn't mean that I'm going to push James into a choice. In fact, I'm going to give him choices. I'm going to do absolutely everything I possibly can not to be pushy and sleazy. We often have our coaching clients say, I don't want to be pushing sleazy. I'm like, good, please don't. I don't want you to be pushy and sleazy either. In fact, I want you to be the opposite of that. Like, in every choice you possibly can to be cool and helpful. Like, that's way better sales and marketing than pushy and sleazy anyway. So, I like being reminded that sales and marketing is just really that, being helpful to people.
Yeah, and they get smushed together quite nicely into a sentence, but they're slightly different ends of the scale. Marketing is really just identifying a group of people and making sure they know what you have available. So that, like, literally go to the market. If you were selling jewelry, you would find a market at the Rocks and you'd target that because that's where people go who buy jewelry, right? So that's the marketing side. The selling is the change in situation from current to better. So that's like you're now at the market, you're at the table and you see the jewelry. How is it laid out? Would you like to hold it up and let the customer try the jewelry on and hold a mirror to them and let them see that they look fantastic in that jewelry? That's the sales process. Now the customer thinks, I look good in this. How much? Now we're having a sales conversation, and your job is just to help them. And you could even, you could put a label on it with the price. So they don't even have to ask the icky question anymore. They just look at the price, and one of two things will happen. They'll look at the price and leave it on and have another look in the mirror, or they'll look at the price and quickly take it off as if it's like going to melt their neck. So that means they're either going to buy it or not at that point.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, I really like that concept of sales being a conversation from current to better. It feels good for me to be kind of having that conversation. And for me, the conversations I'm always having, with the 2 mornings I'm still in practice, are really, James, how healthy do you want to get? And as soon as I know how healthy you want to get, then it's a matter of, let me show you how to get there. Like there is zero manipulation on, I'm not fussed about how healthy you want to get. I have enough time managing my own health. Let me know where you want to get to, and I'm really good at helping you get there. But don't expect to get Rolls Royce health if you're not prepared to take the Rolls Royce steps there as well. So that idea of a conversation from current to where they want to get to is wonderful. So, James, any further steps that you want to? I'm cautious of your time here today. I feel like I could probably talk to you for hours, but I know that you're really busy there as well. We've talked through some of those profit levers from lead into customer to conversion as well. Anything that you want to kind of touch on as well before we talk about how our audience can find out more about you and see where you are?
Look, of the other profit levers, we've talked about leads, finding the right people in the places they're at, talked about the conversions. In terms of pricing, I'd advise against trying to be the cheapest in the market, because that sucks for everybody generally. You get bad customers anyway at low price points usually, and you don't have the margins then to actually give them great service, and you're not that motivated. So that's my thoughts on pricing. Most people, when they pick one of the levers, they usually go to the price, increase the price. That's an easy win generally. But I would say focus whatever you can on frequency. What can you do to have a previous customer come back? And I've actually made training on this recently because it's so important, and I validated it with my own results. That is the key. That was the key to my selling success at Mercedes-Benz, having repeat and referral customers. It's a big part. Having good product obviously helps that. And then the margin part, it's tempting for people to go straight for the margin. But that's probably the last thing I'd worry about. The goal is to bring in a lot more money, then all your costs will easily be covered. Cutting marketing and sales is the most common reaction for a struggling business owner, and it's the exact wrong thing to be cutting. Don't buy coffee for the coffee room or whatever, but don't cut the sales or marketing, because that's the lifeblood of the business.
Yeah. And for so often, for many of us in these kind of businesses too, we have very high fixed overheads, but very low kind of variable overheads. It actually doesn't cost me, other than the face paper, to see 2 people. It's not twice as expensive for me to see 1. I've already got the building, I've already got the staff there as well. So those margins with volume tend to kind of increase naturally anyway.
That's why if you build up your publishing assets, you compound those videos, then you can just reach out. You can magnify those videos with a little bit of ad spend, and you can share it to an audience similar to your customer base. There's a lot of things you can do on the marketing front to get big gains in your conversions.
Yeah, great. So James, finally, just to kind of wind up from here, one of your expertise is helping people with their businesses put together recurring income, particularly in the forms of memberships. As I mentioned at the beginning of this, you were very helpful in me setting up our community influencer program that we have there as well. If you could talk a little bit about that and let our audience know where they could go to find out more about you, if they were interested in working with you, or just consuming more of your content, your podcast, your videos, those kind of things.
Well, there's plenty of podcasts available at superfastbusiness.com. In fact, there's 2 now. There's the audio one, and then there's the video one. So if you want to see those little videos, you can subscribe to them on iTunes or YouTube or whatever, and you'll just see examples of what I'm doing that works, that you could actually do for your own business. And inside Superfast Business Membership, that's where I help the business owners to grow especially their online components. I mean, of course, I've got offline business experience, decades of it, but I particularly like helping people get that edge online now. It's something I've been most interested in. And if you want to dial up the frequency, then of course subscriptions, whether it's a membership, but also services. Subscription services are good. A lot of things, even a florist can have a subscription service, but they just don't realize it. If you look at Amazon, for example, Amazon Prime, which is a recurring subscription to have a premium service, they make $1,800 per member versus $600 per non-Prime member of Amazon. So even if you have some kind of club or low-ticket subscription service for one-time products, generally those people will buy more.
Well, that sounds like a fabulous conversation. Maybe if I can be so cheeky to get a round two sometime in the future.
Of course.
So, yeah. James, thanks so much for being so incredibly generous with us today. So Superfast Business is this. I'm going to have a whole bunch of links in the show notes through here where you'll be able to find all the things that we spoke about, find out where James is. He's been wonderfully helpful for us as ADIO Media in clearing and cleaning up a lot of our processes and helping us better serve you as well. So, I mean, I couldn't give a better testimonial than to say he's the guy who we go to for help as well. So, James, thanks for everything that you do. Thanks for helping me help my audience as well. And I look forward to seeing you inside your platform really soon.
Thanks, Angus.
If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, you have to come and check out the Community Influencer Program. It's my monthly coaching program where we take all this material and I'll work one-on-one with you to apply, implement, systematize, and help guide you and your practice to the next level. Now you can join me on over at adiomedia.com/join. That's adiomedia.com/join. I'd love to see you in there.